So Facebook Live is being a pain, so we're just gonna go with it. Today I'm gonna record in a little different environment in my little classic. So a little change for background rather than big green screen. You get this. You got the cheval going on. You can just take a gander on the interior. Been doing some work on it. Got some electrical to work on. Yeah, she's fine. Been working on the engine. So yeah, here in the backyard. So we're discussing a lot about covert narcissism today and how it has some distinct features from overt or obvious narcissism. And Dave posted an article that had some very good reference points, 7 points of a covert narcissist. But there's something we want to understand. There's something we want to really nail to the wall here. All narcissists, whether covert or overt or even communal, share 4 primary traits. All of them do. They're grandiose in something. Either they're the best person or they've have all the pain. Their pain is the worst. They've been through the worst. Nobody can relate to their pain. Secondly, they all fundamentally lack empathy. When I say lack empathy, I'm saying they don't know how to conceptualize someone else's experience and model or synthesize another person's feelings about an event. They're unable to conceptualize that someone else sees the world differently than they do, and develop what's called a theory of mind. So that kind of gets in the way with everything for them. Third thing is they're chronic victims. They always play the victim card, which means they're going to project and blame chronically. And that brings us to the fourth thing. They're always perfect. Okay? And so when we're dealing with narcissism at all, if we start building boundaries, start saying no, and start being very, very self-advocating, it'll smoke them out very quickly. The trick with an overt narcissist is pretty easy to tell. They're charming, they're grandiose, they're loud, they're boisterous. Whereas covert narcs tend to be introverted, they tend to be quiet, they tend to use their pain as a lure, as a bait to bring in the codependent. They'll claim to be weak but also be the strongest. They like to be special. They're a very special person, but nobody's recognized it. They're undiscovered, that kind of thing. And they have a lot of resentment about that because they think they deserve to be treated better than they are. They tend to, obviously, they're passive-aggressive. Covert narcs will do butting-cutting remarks. They're not direct with what they want. They expect you to read their mind and to know them because they're that important. You know, here we go. So they're also, self-absorbed, but most narcissists are. Their mind is so self-referenced, so self-centered that there isn't another world around them. It's just them, and then the world's an extension of them. You're an extension of them. So you got to watch out for the behaviors and the tone, and you got to listen to your gut, because these people have a certain kind of energy about them that's extremely consistent, whether they're covert or overt. There's something off. You feel discomfort with them, but you're also drawn to them. That's your codependent subconscious programming pulling you in. You find yourself giving up your boundaries or ignoring red flags or using their pain to justify being with them. Like, they need me because now we're suddenly being validated. I've got to be really, really careful about that stuff because it's not, that's all your codependent programming kicking in. If they feel really familiar, if they feel like home or they feel like one of your parents or you've known them forever, red flags, guys, red flags for us though. We want to be really, really careful there. In our own self-awareness is tuning into what we feel, tuning into what we're thinking, and hearing ourselves outside of the programming in our head, all this chatter we get. We've got to begin to listen, and that's using our body. That's tuning into our impulses. And the only way we get there real clearly is to calm the mind by releasing the shame and integrating the love, and that's what heal does, and that's how it innovates on healing. Our reactiveness and our attraction to covert narcs and overt narcissism is completely resolved when we have restored love to ourselves, because now we're listening to ourselves and we're not being bamboozled by them. Okay? So I wrote down some other options here on my little post-it note. Let's see what to do. Oh yeah, what to do when you're annoyed by other people. So this is for you, Adrian. With that situation you're in, the thing I do is I observe, I don't absorb. Because your reaction to them is yours, 100%. It's generated in you. And so we need to respect that and understand your feelings, empathize with it. But the more you're able to disconnect from reacting to that person and their existence and observe that they exist, and let them be without them having to change, but you can just move on with your life, you become more of an observer, more of a audience member to their presence. You will be freer. And it's the same thing we would do with narcs. We observe, we don't absorb. We don't react. We feel feelings, we can let them go. But you don't have to stick around in it. You can even release your judgment and give him permission. Ooh, I noticed. You can give him permission to be the way he is. That's a lot of times what I do to help people get out of denial of what they're experiencing. I'm saying, if you could, would you give that person permission to be the annoying person they are, to be the jerk that they are? And if you could do that, when would you do that? And that tends to get us out of our mental or emotional resistance to them. All right, so the next one goes goes to Dave, about object versus connection, because you were referencing how people kind of collect other people, use them as objects, and then gloat because, oh, I know so-and-so, and I'm famous because they're famous, kind of thing, or that kind of identity borrowing. I look at that as objectification, and that means the person is using the individual for a specific purpose, and I call that utility. So on the relationship spectrum, there's utility and connection, and then in the middle is interdependency. And well, in the middle is an exchange of both benefit or utility and connection, which most healthy relationships are. But they're dominantly connection first, benefit second. Whereas with narcissism, it's benefit, it's utilities. What's in it for me? What do I get out of it? So we have to be very, very careful and very mindful of that, because if we're dealing with a covert or an overt narcissist, they'll feed us the lines they know we need to hear in order to believe and trust them, but their actions will not follow up. So they'll tell us they love us, that we're the best thing ever, yet they go off and play with their friends, or they ignore us, or they forget our birthdays, or they don't get us gifts, or they do get us gifts, but they don't appreciate our level of gratitude, or we get them gifts, we pay attention to them, and they don't reciprocate. They're not available, they're not engaged, and you notice that they engage only with you on their terms, when it's good for them, when there's a benefit in it for them, but they're not being mindful about what you need, so they're not willing to inconvenience themselves for you. Now, they'll just do it for themselves, so be mindful of that. Now, the last question I got today, which was a great question, was codependency versus covert narcissist. They're not as similar as they look. Typically, true codependents are going to be more apologetic. They're going to take ownership of everything rather than nothing. They're going to be self-effacing, self-blame. They're going to blame themselves. They're going to be hard working at healing and fixing themselves because they see themselves as flawed. So they're the opposite of the narcissist who sees themselves as perfect. And they may play on their pain a lot because that's part of their identity. But generally, I mean, if I approached the codependent and said, there's a mistake, this happened and I feel this way about it, they'd own it. They might feel a lot of shame and guilt about it, but they wouldn't become defensive. They wouldn't blame me. They would blame themselves for everything. So that's one of the hallmarks there of discerning between them. because they almost look the same, but they aren't radically the same. So that's my answer to that one. So that's this week's Facebook Live. Thank you guys for showing up in the group. Thank you for being a part of our community. We're really building a community and a family here, because I see you guys supporting each other, encouraging each other, sharing with each other. And that's big. That's awesome. And it's an honor for me to be a part of that. And it's part of a goal I've had to help facilitate a healthy, thriving community where we feel supported, we feel seen, we feel understood. And all of you that are new, welcome. We want you here. You belong here. And allow yourself to take the time to get to know the community and what we do. I've obviously not been very consistent with the schedule I've posted about what happens from day to day. And there's a reason for that. I'm allowing the group to have a little more flow. And then I'm just responding to that flow and feeding it. Because that's what we really need. Rather than having me structure everything, we structure it. We grow with it. So this is a pretty exciting thing for me, and I'm excited that I get to be a part of this, that you guys get to be a part of this, and let's keep growing it. Let's keep doing that. So thank you guys for your support and trust in me, for contributing to my purpose, which is to end codependency and really help people thrive. And I help people do that through personal coaching or mentoring. I help them do that through Heal and through Thrive, and then through the 3 free materials that I offer. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay, my goal is to help people break through, because I went through it myself. I endured this for 3 decades, and when I figured out how to be free, I ran with it. You deserve to be free too. You deserve to have joy. And I'm going to get rid of that notice. And you are not your codependency. And remember, you're worth knowing, you're worth loving, and you're worth keeping. We'll talk next week, guys. Let me know if you have any other questions. I'll just answer them in the posts. And you guys have a great day.